The fire was still burning when the Virex High Command received the footage. A soldier's helmet camera had survived for 12 seconds before being destroyed. That was enough to show the last thing it saw, a human girl standing in the middle of flames, her face calm, her eyes like steel. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She looked straight at the camera and smiled. Then the screen went black. The Virex leaders froze in silence. One of them whispered, "She's not supposed to be alive." That sentence echoed across their entire command base. No human had ever escaped the Virex purge. Their attack on the Earth team had been fast and complete. No mercy, no witnesses. Or so they thought. But now, this girl, this small, weak, untrained human had killed soldiers, hijacked tech, and sent a message across their world. The message was clear: you forgot one. Ava watched the panic from a hideout deep under the city ruins. She saw their meetings, she heard their voices, she saw the fear in their eyes. She didn't smile this time. She was already planning her next move. Ash, her battle drone, stood by the entrance. It had taken a hit during the last fight, but she had fixed it again. She talked to it like a friend. It never answered with words, only beeps and lights, but somehow that was enough. She whispered, "They're scared now." Ash, that's good. She knew fear was a weapon, and she planned to use it in the next few days. The Virex sent more patrols. Drones flew across the skies. Roads were blocked. Ruins were scanned again and again. Every city section was locked down. But she didn't hide. She moved through the cracks of their cities, under tunnels, through burned buildings. She used their own codes to open doors. She turned their cameras away. She hacked their locks. She was everywhere and nowhere. One night, a Virex general arrived at the main outpost near the old Earth landing site. He came with 20 guards, all armed, all confident. Ava watched from above, hidden in a broken tower. The general stood proudly, giving orders. "She's just a child. One girl can't fight us all." That was his last sentence. A small metal dart flew from the shadows. It hit the fuel tank of the nearby transport ship. The explosion was loud, fiery, sudden. Guards screamed. The building shook. Fire rolled through the outpost like a wave. In the smoke, the general tried to run. He didn't get far. Ava stepped out of the flames, face covered in ash, eyes locked. On him she didn't speak. She raised the Virex rifle she had stolen. One shot, then silence. The next day, all of Virex Prime knew she had killed a general. Now, she wasn't just a survivor. She was a ghost in their streets, a storm in their system. The Virex news channels called her the Phantom of the Ruins. The soldiers called her the Ash Ghost. But to Ava, names didn't matter. She only cared about one thing, making sure they remembered what they did to her people. She wanted them to feel it, to fear it, to know that humans were not weak, not anymore. That same night, Ava found an old signal tower near the mountains. It was broken, but she repaired it with help from Ash and some stolen parts. For the first time in weeks, she had a working uplink to the galaxy. She could now send a message far beyond Virex Prime. She sat in front of the console. The light flickered on her face. Her fingers shook a little as she typed the message. "To all humans out there, this is Ava Juno. I survived the Virex massacre. They killed my team. They killed my friends, but I'm still here, and I'm not finished." She paused. Then she added one final line. "Let them know if one human is enough." She sent it. Across space, the signal moved through forgotten channels, bouncing from old satellites. Somewhere, someone would receive it. Earth maybe, or another human colony she didn't know. She just hoped someone was listening. But while she waited, she kept fighting. Virex Prime was changing. Soldiers didn't laugh anymore. Patrols doubled. Commanders grew paranoid. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow made them raise their weapons. The mighty empire that once mocked humans was now shaking because of one girl. She wasn't trained. She wasn't chosen. She wasn't meant to survive. But she had something the Virex would never understand. She that had nothing to lose. And that made her dangerous. The tower stood tall above the broken city, made of black metal, lined with glowing blue wires. It was the Virex Prime control center. From here the Virex managed the planet's power, weapons, and drones. It was also where they planned the death of the humans, and now Ava had her eyes on it. She stood on the roof of a shattered building across the street. Night had fallen. The air was cold. Clouds of ash floated through the sky like silent ghosts. Ash, her battle drone, hovered beside her. Its eyes glowed faintly red. Its metal arm held a plasma cutter. Ava didn't speak. She simply stared at the tower. Inside were the same kind of leaders who once shook her hand and spoke of peace, then gave the secret order to kill her team. Now it was her turn. That Virex had made one mistake. They let her live. She had spent weeks hiding, learning, striking. She had brought fear to their streets. Now it was time to do more. It was time to break them. She opened a stolen data pad. A map of the tower appeared, full of blinking red dots, security drones, patrol paths, entry points. She had hacked this data 2 days ago. She whispered to Ash, "We go in quiet. If they see us, we don't stop." The drone beeped once in response. They moved down the building, through old sewer tunnels, under thick stone and forgotten roads. Ava had walked this path before. marking every corner, every sound. Now she moved like a shadow. They reached the base of the tower. The walls were clean, polished. Virex banners hung from metal poles. Guards stood at the main doors, fully armored. But Ava didn't go through the front. She climbed with rope, hooks, and gloves. She pulled herself up a side wall using cracks and vents to hide her movements. Ash followed on the other side using magnetic clamps. They reached the 5th floor and stopped at a small service vent. Ava pulled out her plasma cutter and began slicing. The metal glowed red, then melted away. It slipped inside. The hallway was dark and silent. Lights blinked on the floor. Screens showed moving data. The smell of oil and cold steel filled the air. Ava walked carefully, watching every corner. Suddenly, voices. She stopped. 2 guards were walking toward her. She ducked behind a control panel. They passed, talking about the human girl. Still no sign of her, one said. Maybe she's gone. She killed the general. She's not gone. She's planning something. They laughed nervously and moved on. Ava waited, then followed. She didn't kill them. Not yet. She reached the central core of the tower. A huge room filled with glowing machines. In the center stood the power regulator cylinder of spinning lights and wires. Destroying it would cut control across the entire city. No drones, no power grids, no cameras, just chaos. She set the charge. Ash connected to the system and began a loop hack to delay alarms. The timer on the charge blinked. 2 minutes. They turned to leave, but suddenly, red lights flashed. Alert, unauthorized access. Section 5 breached. They'd been seen. Run, she said to Ash. They moved fast. But guards were coming from every side now. Ava fired her stolen rifle. 2 guards fell. Ash slammed a metal door shut behind them. They ran down a side hall. Alarms screaming, lights flashing red. The tower shook behind them. 1 minute left. They reached the service vent again. Ava slipped through first. Ash followed, but took a hit. A plasma bolt burned across its back. It stumbled, but Ava grabbed its arm. Come on, just a little more. They climbed down, as shouts and shots echoed above them. 30 seconds. They hit the ground running, moving through a shattered window and back into the ruins. 10 seconds. Ava turned, watching the tower. She whispered, "This is for Earth." Then dash boomed. The tower exploded from the center. Fire burst from every level. Metal beams flew into the sky. Walls collapsed like paper. A shockwave rolled through the street, shaking buildings for miles. Ava stood still, the wind in her hair, dust covering her face. Ash stood beside her, damaged but alive. The tower was gone, and the signal it sent to the rest of the Virex world was loud and clear. The human girl wasn't hiding anymore. Across Virex Prime, soldiers looked at the sky in silence. Civilians whispered her name. Commanders shouted orders to double security. But it was too late. Ava had turned their greatest building into ashes, and now she was coming for the rest. The sky over Virex Prime was no longer calm. It burned. Black smoke rose where the control tower once stood. Sirens wailed across cities. Patrol drones swarmed through the air like angry insects. Orders were shouted. Roads were sealed. Panic spread, but they were too late, because Ava had already vanished deep in the old mining district. Far below the surface, she was rebuilding something dangerous, something that could not just break buildings, but bring down the entire planet's command. Ash, you stood beside her, sparks flying from its metal chest. One arm was missing, torn during the escape, but its eyes still glowed red, and it still followed every order. Ava knelt beside the broken engine of an old Virex attack craft. She wiped sweat from her forehead. Her hands were black with grease and blood. She hadn't eaten in hours. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop, because they were coming. She knew it. They would send everything now: ships, scouts, assassins. But that was good. She wanted them to come this time. She wasn't just surviving. She was going to strike first. A red light blinked on her datapad. The stolen Virex codebreaker had cracked another layer of the orbital security network. Almost in, she whispered. Ash beeped softly. She tapped the screen, her heart beating faster. 2 weeks ago, this would have been impossible. But now, with the chaos after the tower's fall, the main orbital defense ring was blind in certain sectors, and Ava had a plan. She was going to steal a ship, not just any ship, a gunship, big, heavy, armed with plasma bombs, enough firepower to strike their orbital base, the place where they launched the attack on the Earth mission, the place where the first betrayal was planned. That was where this all began, and that's where it would end. At night, she moved. She used back tunnels, old vents, and ghost routes only workers knew. She reached the spaceport, half damaged by the tower blast, but still alive. Drones buzzed above. Guards walked in pairs, but Ava had studied their timing for days. She waited in the shadows. She counted steps. She waited for the sirens to scream in another sector. Then she ran, fast, silent, through an open hatch. She slipped inside the docking zone, and there it was. The VX-7 gunship, long dark gray twin engines. 6 missile-based her target. She climbed inside and connected Ash to the control core. It lit up slowly, resisting at first, but then unlocked. The stolen codes worked. She sat in the pilot's seat, hands shaking. This was it. Ash powered up weapons. The The ship rumbled outside. Guards shouted, "Unauthorized launch. It's her, the human." Alarms screamed again. But this time, she was the one causing them. The ship rose with a roar, breaking past the hangar walls, shaking the ground. Plasma bolts chased her through the sky. Drones followed. Sirens echoed. She flew low, dodging towers and shattered streets. Ash fired back sharp blasts that tore drones from the sky. Ava didn't stop. Her eyes locked on the sky ahead. Above her, the orbital base floated like a black moon, hidden behind clouds, powered by stolen human tech and filled with the Virex leaders. She pressed the engine hard. The ship shook. The sky screamed, but she broke through the clouds and rose higher into the black above the world. The orbital base came into view round, glowing deadly. Ava stared at it. "You planned to kill us from here. Now I'm coming for you." Missile locks appeared on the screen. Ash beeped a warning they were targeting her, but Ava smiled, let them. She rolled the ship hard left, dodging one blast. Then she dove below their sensor grid. She slipped through a blind zone just like the code. Breaker showed. She reached the bottom of the base. Found the weak point, the fuel station. She armed the missiles one by one, 6 total. Her hands hovered above the fire button. She took one deep breath. And then she pressed it. Boom. The missiles flew like fire dragons straight into the heart of the base. The first one hit fuel. The second tore into the center core. The others followed. Boom, boom, boom. The base shook. Then it exploded. The shockwave lit the dark sky. Ava's ship spun out of control. Fire rolled past her. Sparks flew from every screen. Ash buzzed loud and sharp. She grabbed the controls, barely holding the ship steady. The blast had hit her too, but she wasn't done yet. Below, across Virex Prime, the people looked up and saw the base fall from the sky like a burning star. The place where Earth was betrayed was no more, and somewhere above them, a human girl flew through fire and survived. Again, the Virex leaders were dead. The system was broken, and the galaxy would. Now remember, one human girl had brought war to their skies, and she had won. The ground was full of ash. The sky was black. Buildings were broken like toy blocks. The city once called Virex Prime was now a silent grave. Smoke rose from every direction. Strange machines lay destroyed. Alien ships still burned in the sky, and among the dead someone moved. It was a girl, a human girl. She walked slowly, her body covered in blood and dirt. Her clothes were torn, her hands shook, but her eyes were full of fire. Her name was Ava. She was not a soldier. She had never held a gun before coming to this planet. She was a science student sent by Earth on a peace mission. Her job was simple: study the alien technology, collect samples and report back. That was all. But peace was a lie. The VR Empire had invited humans to talk. They said they wanted friendship. They said they respected human knowledge. But when the humans landed, the attack came fast. Ships exploded. Scientists were burned alive. The peace team never stood a chance. Ava had watched her team die. Her friends screamed. Her teacher tried to protect her, but he was cut down by a plasma blade. She hid under the shipwreck for 2 days. No food, no water, just silence and smoke. No one came to help. No signal got through. Earth didn't know they were gone. The Virex had made sure of that. They believed they had killed everyone. They didn't check the wrecks. They didn't search the rubble. They didn't see Ava crawl out of the fire. Now, she stood in the center of the dead city, shaking, tired, but alive. The wind blew dust across the street. The only sound was the crackling of broken wires. Her legs almost gave up, but she kept walking. She didn't know where to go. Then she saw something. It was a small building, half buried under broken stone. The front wall was destroyed, but inside she saw metal parts, wires, screens, a lab. She stepped inside carefully. The room was dark, but she found a small console still working. It blinked with low power. She sat down and touched the screen. A message flashed. Status: Sector Control offline, last activity. Military drone program. She didn't know everything about Virex tech, but she had studied their systems. This was a drone lab. She looked around and found broken robot parts. One of them was still glowing, barely alive. She dragged the heavy body to the corner and began fixing it. Her fingers were slow, her hands were cold, but her mind was focused. She had nothing else, no hope, no plan, only revenge. For the next 3 days she worked in silence. She repaired the drone's circuits. She used wires from broken machines. She ate old ration bars from her dead team's packs. She slept beside the robot, using a metal sheet as a blanket. On the 4th night, the robot's eyes lit up. It was a battle drone. Large, strong, armed. It had voice commands. Ava gave it one order: follow me. She named it Ash. Together they moved through the city ruins. Ash protected her from wild scavengers. It scanned for food, weapons, and more tech. Slowly, Ava turned from survivor to soldier. She found a Virex helmet and used it to listen to their radio. She heard their laughter, their victory speeches. "The humans are gone," one voice said. "The Earth people were nothing." She clenched her fists. They had no idea she was still alive, and they would regret it. Each night she trained. She learned their language from intercepted broadcasts. She studied their patterns. She watched their drones. She didn't want to run. She didn't want to hide. She wanted them to see her, to remember her, to fear her. One morning she found something big, a small ship hidden in the lower docks. It was damaged but not destroyed. The engine was broken, but the weapons system still worked. She and Ash began fixing it. It would take weeks, maybe months, but Ava didn't care. She wasn't in a hurry because when she was ready, she wouldn't just survive, she would fight back, and no one on Virex Prime would forget her name. The wind on Virex Prime was cold and sharp. It moved through the broken towers like whispers of the dead. The sky was always gray now. Smoke from the fallen ship still floated above the city, but deep below, in an old repair bay, one human girl was still alive. Ava sat on the cold metal floor beside her battle drone, Ash. The robot clicked and hummed as it charged slowly through a cracked power core. Her hands were covered in grease and blood. She hadn't slept in 2 days, but her eyes stayed open, focused, angry. She remembered the lies. The Virex leaders had stood in front of the peace team with fake smiles. We welcome Earth, we welcome knowledge, we welcome peace. But they didn't want peace. They wanted to study humans, break them, use their minds and throw away their bodies. That's why they called Earth. Not to share but to conquer quietly. When the human team landed, they were outnumbered. The Virex soldiers came in seconds. They didn't shoot from a distance. No, they came close face to face and laughed as they killed. Ava was the youngest in the team, the only one without a weapon. She had hidden behind cargo boxes. She heard every scream, every lie out now. She couldn't forget, and she didn't want to. She had learned how to live in the ruins. She used broken systems to steal power. She found dry food in storage rooms. Ash guarded her at night. Together, they were building something big, something the Virex didn't expect. A message flashed on the old Virex helmet she wore. Squad 17 report. Returning to confirm no survivors. One human escape rumored. She froze. They were coming back. They didn't know it was her, but they had heard something. Maybe a signal she had sent by mistake. Maybe drone footage from above. Whatever it was, they were returning to check. She had only one chance. She walked to the hidden dock where the small Virex ship was stored. She checked the engine still damaged. The thrusters worked, but it couldn't fly far, just enough to move within the city. Maybe underground. That was good enough. She climbed inside and powered up the weapons. Ash stood beside her. Ready, outside, a new dropship entered the ruined skies. It hovered for a few minutes, scanning, then it landed near the old lab where she had first hidden. 3 Virex soldiers stepped out. Their armor was clean, shining. They had scanners and rifles. Their faces showed no fear. Ava watched them through the screen. She smiled, a cold, hard smile. She waited until they entered the lab. Then she whispered to Ash. Now. The ship's cannon fired once. The explosion lit up the sky. The lab was gone in seconds. Dust, fire, and broken stone. Watched the screen. Nothing moved. Then a new message appeared on her helmet feed. High Command alert, unknown attack on Scout Team 17. Suspect survivor. Now they knew. Now it had begun. Across the planet, the Virex news system started talking. Scout Team destroyed. Possible human involvement. One may have escaped the purge. Some Virex citizens laughed. Just one girl. We killed thousands. But others looked worried. She has tech. She killed soldiers. She destroyed a building. The leaders met behind closed doors. Ava heard it all because she had broken into their signals, their cameras, their maps. She was watching them and they didn't know how deep her anger ran. Every night she trained more. She learned how to reload Virex weapons. She studied weak points in their armor. She used their own training videos to understand how they fought, but she didn't fight like them. She fought like a survivor. Fast, silent, ruthless. She wasn't trying to win a war. She was trying to make them pay. One evening, she found a small Virex patrol guarding a broken energy station. For soldiers talking, laughing, she waited until nightfall. She moved through the shadows like smoke. One by one, they fell. A knife, a wire, a quiet shot, no alarms, no noise, just silence. She left a message on the wall, written in Virex blood. You forgot one. By morning, the message was everywhere. Across screens, on news feeds, in military rooms. You forgot one. It became a whisper of fear. She's alive. She's angry. She's watching now. The Virex Empire sent warning orders across nearby systems. They ordered more scouts, more weapons, more drones. But Ava wasn't scared. She was ready. Had turned their own planet into a battlefield, and one girl was about to show the galaxy what it meant to underestimate a human.